Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 6 of the OSCA Truck Series. Tonight, we travel to the Sunflower State for the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park 130 here at Kansas Motor Speedway. And joining me along tonight, I'm Mike Goodman. Joining with me tonight is Kenneth Bueno. And Kenneth, tonight at this mile-and-a-half track here at Kansas, we're going to see a lot of high-speed action, a lot of full throttle action, and maybe a little bit of guys hugging the wall on the outside.
Yeah, Mike, and this is our first trip to a 1.5 miler other than Homestead Miami Speedway, so it is good to be back, at least on the intermittents. We had a good amount of a stint that involved a lot of short track racing. We saw it conclude our short track stint over at Martinsville, which was a chaotic race in its own right, but we're back to at least the regular intermediate racing, the 1.5 milers, having it back, and what a way to bring it back than a track like Kansas. So interesting, so unique, and one of the more confusing ones, at least compared to a lot of the other tracks, considering the fact that it's not necessarily all the way to the bottom. You necessarily have to be all the way in the progressive banking up top to make things work, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and of course back to normal conditions, so the drivers who were good on 1.5 milers can continue to use that success when we come back here tonight.
Yeah, we'll see some of the guys that we've seen up earlier up front maybe get back up and dominate some of these races. We can take a closer look here at Kansas Speedway, again here in Kansas City, Kansas, as we look here on the Google Maps. And kind of like you said, it's a 1.5 mile. And as you mentioned, too, it's the progressive banking, 17 degrees on the bottom, 20 degrees on top. So the straightaways kind of vary between 9 to 11 degrees. And this track first hosted NASCAR races in 2001, I believe it was. And we can take a look quick at the upcoming schedule here. And as you see, race number 6 here tonight at Kansas. Next week we head to Gateway, then go to Michigan, and then we go back to a short track at Bristol, and then Vegas, another 1.5 mile track, and that's when the playoffs start. You have the 2 rounds in Phoenix and Texas, and the final race of the season will be at Kentucky Speedway. And as we're rounding out qualifying here tonight, we can check out the point standings quick if we have that. And you see Gerald Campbell currently has that 35-point lead, Kenneth. And as you see how the rest of the top 10 breaks down as of right now. But again, with the 2 halves tonight, we have stage 1 is going to be 44 laps. Stage 2 is going to be 43. And that big lead that Gerald Campbell has over Vincent Isabella, that could be eaten up pretty quickly, scoring these stages or stage points if Gerald Campbell does slip up here tonight.
Yeah, that is true, Mike, and I think what we saw at Martinsville maybe gave way for a handful of drivers to try to carve in that gap, including Vincent Isabella. You see guys all the way down the order, tied for 9th. Blake Barney was the winner of the second segment over at Martinsville, so added those points. He's now still 77 points out, still a decent margin, but it's still enough to cut in the lead. And Campbell, I think a decent cushion for now. All the consistent races, all the wins that he's racked up so far in this OSCA Truck Series season has given him this advantage. So at least he can fall back a little bit. But remember, you can't fall back too much. Once you get a string of bad races, that gap can go from 35 to 0 in just an instant, especially if they start to have good races behind where Campbell sits in points. So it is still a matter of taking care of business, whether it be decent finishes, wins, whatever have you. But Campbell still holding strong in the lead, and actually a decent competitive battle for second on back.
Yeah, yes, it is, Kenneth. And that's one thing, too, here, with that top groove being the preferred groove, there still could be a lot of trouble. We expect less than we seen last week at Martinsville, but certainly there can be chaos involved here tonight. And again, this is the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Canal 130. And again, with the 2 stages, 44 and 43 laps. And kind of interesting here tonight, usually we have around the top 10 kind of inverted. They decided to mix it up tonight and only going to be the top 2. So kind of an interesting choice, and we'll see how that plays out. So not a big advantage with the inverts here tonight.
Yeah, there certainly isn't. And we talked about it right before we tipped off the broadcast, and it was practically just saying that it's not going to be such a big factor because going to the first segment, then switching over to the second segment, the driver who won the segment, the only difference is he's going to be starting in a different either on the outside or the inside. He's not going to be starting anywhere in the back. He's not going to be behind any cars. He's not going to be mired in any sort of traffic if they finish within the top 2. So it's practically just a switcheroo of where they start on their rows. And speaking of which, everybody is lined up behind the iRacing Virtual Pace car, so we're probably getting our way to go green very soon.
Yeah, we can check out the starting lineup here again tonight for the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Canal 130. And on the front row, on the pole, with a lap of 31.096 seconds, is the 46 truck of Richard Mandoka. I've probably mispronounced that name. And alongside of him in the 96 truck is Adam Tepe.
Finding in yourself row number 2, Matt Arcara will start in the inside of that second row in third. In the 45 machine with Gabriel Edwards in the 52, a nice run for his Merrill Motorsports truck. He'll start in the 4th spot.
The 84 truck of Robert Hill Jr. is going to start on the inside of row number 3. And alongside of him is the number 5 of Dominic Curett.
Points leader Gerald Campbell will roll off from the 7th position in row number 4, and segment 1 winner at Martinsville last week in the 90 of Johnny Eckert, looking for another segment win here tonight. He will start on the outside of row number 4 and 8th.
And starting in row number 5 is the 32 truck of Josh Sir Duke. He'll be starting off in 9th, and starting in the 10th position in the number 44 truck is Dusty the Dragon Doer.
Behind them in row number 6, you'll find Damian Leininger in the 12 machine in 11th, followed by segment 2 winner at Martinsville, 00 Blake Barney. Talked about him, 9th in points coming to tonight. He will roll off from 12th.
Starting in the 13th position is the 23 truck of Harrison Talion, and hopefully turning his luck around, starting in 14th spot is the 2 truck of David Westergreen.
Behind them, row 8, number 3 of Austin Beers, Dover segment winner, will line up the top 15. And the 71 of David Carpenter will line up to his outside.
The 93 truck, you seen him go for a wild ride last week at Martinsville. It's Nicholas Monticelli. He'll be starting in the 17th spot. And alongside him is the 19 truck of J.J. Hill.
Then rounding out the 20 cars right now so far, Chris Jordan, the 4 machine, will start 19th. And Shane DiMantova in his fabulous truck here under the lights, he will start out in the 20th spot from that 20 truck.
And rounding out the field is the 42 truck of Vincent Isabella, the guy who's second in the points. He's going to have some work to do if he wants to gain on points leader Gerald Campbell. And again, that's your starting lineup here for the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Canal 130. As the pace truck that new pace car iRacing just implemented this week, a little bit of a hybrid iRacing Zone make a car. A little interesting new feature added to iRacing just this week. He'll tuck down a pit road, and here they'll lead him off here to green flag as Richard Mendonca, I gotta work on the pronunciation of that name. He'll lead him off to the green flag here as they head on down through the tri-oval, heading on into turn number 1. He's gonna get a good lead going. And right now he's tucking on the bottom. Kind of an interesting thing to see here, Kenneth. Maybe we're a couple laps here. Those guys work their way up to the top.
Yeah, and for right now, the fresh tires will be to the benefit, so it will be the best decision to go low. You see now the pass for second as Adam Tepe has peaked his Ford F-150 to the inside of Matt Arcara. There was a large pack here between all the trucks. Actually, David Westergreen almost around behind them. He got tagged, I believe, by Shane Mantova. Was able to get a little bit squirrely, but saved the race truck, and he'll lose a handful of track position as a result. But lap 2, lots of drivers in a pack as another driver fairly loose.
I think that was the 52 truck of Edwards, and Hill gets a little bit loose on that bottom side. Looks like maybe the trucks are getting a little bit tough to handle here, as we've seen a couple cars here getting sideways, but so far so good. They're able to stay under green as of right now, and Mendonca is going to be leading the race here on lap number 3. Adam Tepe is trying to close that gap. He's trying to look on the inside going into turn number 1, but nothing doing. And right behind him, you got Matt Arcara. As you see the onboard camera, the roof cam here of Adam Tepe as he's trying to chase down Mendonca. But right now, things are kind of staying put at about a little under 1/10, but he's getting a good run here out of turn number 2. He's going to try. Oh, he gets loose and hangs on to it. Oh, man, our car. Oh, he's going to go in the grass, saves it, and he's going to get back on the track. He's just going to lose 1 spot, maybe 2, but he's going to keep on trucking.
But what a save by a countless amount of drivers in this field. We've already seen a lot of the wheelmen taking their action behind the wheel of their trucks, and that does include Matt Arcara. He did get tagged, though, by the 96 of Tepe, was trying to exit off of turn 4 and got a little bit loose as a result, trying to make sure he didn't get into the wall. But now he's in a side-by-side battle with the 84 of Robert Hill, along with the, what looks to be, I believe, the 12 machine right in front of him, Damian Leininger, also in this battle. But one thing here we're already seeing, Mike, is that everybody is leaning toward the bottom. I don't see anyone up to the outside wall, and that's usually something you don't necessarily see with this Kansas Speedway. You're usually accustomed to seeing everybody running that safer barrier, but I'd be curious to see if we end up watching some highline action when the tires start to wear, because right now the tires seem invincible, the trucks are very loose, but once things start to tighten up, you may have to start to search for that grip.
Yeah, I don't wonder if it's kind of like the Pied Piper Dale Jr. at Talladega, where it kind of leads them. That Talladega usually leads them on the high line. Maybe Mandonka leading them on the bottom as of right now. You see how hard these trucks are to handle. You see some of these trucks getting loose, like you said. It just proves how hard this can be. You know, it seems easy. A lot of times you can go about flat out in these trucks, but man, they are loose and they're hanging on. And right now we're looking back at the 00 car. Looks like he's got a new fresh paint scheme here tonight, and he's getting a little bit of battle with Gabriel Edwards, and that's for the 9th position. And right now it looks like Gabriel Edwards will take the position going down into turn number 1 and see if Barney can get that high groove working. He's kind of run that middle line right now, Kenneth. Haven't seen anyone run up to the wall, and right now he's getting a good run out of the corner. It looks like Barney's going to hold off for that 9th position.
Yeah, and they'll tango for that position as well, as Edwards had performed the crossover. Gets a little bit of the apron on the splitter, though, so he'll lose that ground all the way back. But remember, talked about Edwards literally at the start of this race, started within the first couple rows, and now he's all the way mired back due to that incident of getting loose. So it's just as quickly as things can snap around for you in these trucks, they can easily get away from your hands, and you will have to do a whale of a job trying to save it for the moment. At least for now, he's trying to hold still where he stands, as everybody else is practically single file. And I think we're mentioning back to what happened to David Westergreen. He's mired back with Gerald Campbell all the way back in 19th.
Yeah, it looks like, I think on the restart, Campbell got down on the apron. I don't know if he got loose. He lost a ton of track position, currently in that 19th spot. And then, it looks like a little bit of damage there from Shane DiMantova. That might have been from that contact with Westergreen. He's mired all the way back into 21st. He's looking maybe for a caution. And I think Robert Hill got in the wall there coming off for turn 2. He might have some damage here as well, as we look back out of the first place car of Richard Mandonka, who's led every lap here as we complete lap number 9, going to number 10. But right now, Dominic Currit, he's putting the pressure on. He's going to try to see if he can make that pass for the lead here, as we trying to see our first lead change. Right now, he's nothing quite doing. And we look back here at Adam Tepe, and last week's Stage 1 winner, Johnny Eckert, is running back in the 4th position. And Josh Duke up all the way up into the 5th position. So far, there's some movers, there's some shakers here that we see. And but as of right now, like you said, mostly single file racing. But like I said, once these tires maybe wear in a little bit, maybe we'll see some multi-groove racing, and we'll see some of these guys jockey for position.
And as for right now, it seems as though everybody within about the top 8 have broken away, as I think one driver all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, and that was Dominic Currit, and he dives inside for the race lead. A little bit loose down to the bottom of the track. He'll wash it up just a little bit, and they'll stay even as they head back to the front straightaway to complete lap number 11. And now Currit may have the nose out front, maybe a little bit of help from Tepe on the way there. And we had talked about at least a handful of these drivers, Mike, from Martinsville last week. Dominic Currit not with a pretentious run, neither did Adam Tepe. Some contact with him. Johnny Eckert, who has already moved up to 4th, he was the segment 1 winner at the paperclip, so he's already using that 1.5 mile per hour and that momentum in order to dive back to the inside. Top 8 all scrunched in as they head back off turn 4.
Yeah, and Mandonka is going to continue to lead as that battle for second starting to heat up between Dominic Currit and Johnny Eckert and a couple guys behind him, and that's again Adam Tepe and Josh Duke battling it out for that 4th spot. Right now looks like Duke's going to get the advantage, and here comes, he's always fast no matter where we go, Blake Barney. He's moving his way up through the field all the way up to 6th, but Damian Leininger, he's battling try to battle back on that inside. Try to get that advantage coming out of turn 4 right now. Looks like Blake Barney is going to take that spot, as he's going to try to stay on the groove there. Usually sometimes they go down on the apron and see sometimes different strategies. And ooh, he's going to suck up pretty quick here, and he's going to now it looks like that outside groove now, Kenneth, is starting to work in maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, but this truck of the 00 Blake Barney has definitely come alive in the opening 14 laps, and we talked about him when he started 12th. He's already up to the 6th spot and now climbing to 5th in this top 5. So it has been a remarkable job already for Blake Barney to gain those positions since the drop of the green flag. The question will be, though, whether he used his tires just a little bit too early here and maybe he could fall back in the latter portion of this run. You see him very tight trying to pinch the 96 of Tepe, who's been eager to put in that gas. And here we might have a pass for second. There goes Johnny Eckert to the inside of Dominic Keurig. He'll try to take away as they dive back to turn 3.
It looks like he'll take the advantage and maybe slide up in front of that five truck as they're coming out of turn 4. And he will indeed take that second spot. But as we were just talking about, Blake Barney moving up into the 4th position as he just got by Josh Duke. As they're coming down, Eckert's trying to chase down Mendonca as he's led every lap so far in this race. As we're about halfway through lap 16. It looks like Currit's in the wall there a little bit. He's going to scrub a little bit of speed, and they're guys like Blake Barney, Leininger, and Duke look to take advantage as they're diving into turn number 3.
Now, one thing to know here, we talked also and mentioned the caution clock that has been implemented in this series, and from the officials we have word there is 2 minutes left on that clock. So if we continue to stay green for the next handful of laps, we will have a yellow thrown via the officials and no wreck on the racetrack. So if we don't have a caution on the racetrack from then on out, we'll count the clock down all the way to 0 and we'll rebunch the field. But it is tight racing here as Currid, who had smacked the wall, has lost a ton of ground as a result. Here comes Leininger in the 12 machine to the inside. Look at Josh Duke spreading all the way to the outside wall to get some of that grip and get a run to the outside. But it seems as though for now, Richard Mendonca in the 46 leading every lap so far. And he may be the control truck when we go under that caution clock.
Yeah, he's looking right now. He's taking advantage of that track position, but Eckert is trying his hardest to take that lead before the caution flag comes out. And as you see, Pruitt still losing positions, and on the move here now is Dusty Dewar in that number 44 truck. He's started in 10th. He's moved all the way up to 6th position. He's looking like he's trying to take that 5th spot away from Josh Duke as we're winding down on that caution clock. But as we look back up front, that battle between the 46 and 90 is heating up. He's trying to close in. Can he get to him before that caution comes out? We'll have to wait and see. I think we're probably getting pretty close here now. Probably a little under a minute to go before that caution will come out. And right now, still things they're kind of pulling away as we see the caution coming out now. Here as they complete lap 20. And Mendonca is still leading the race here on lap number 20 of 44. So we got about 20 laps in here. So I'm assuming, I'm just trying to do simple math of here the stage. By the time the caution flaps kind of play out, I'm thinking we might be able to be good for the second half of this first stage without a caution.
Yeah, Mike, I think if we stay green, if we don't get any actual yellows on the track, for instance, this is probably the best timing you can get if you're these trucks. I mean, going about 44 laps is very tight on the fuel tanks here in these, at least NASCAR Camping World Truck Series machines. But pitting right here, right at the mediator, right in the middle, lap number 20, spreading it half, I think it probably will be the best decision, and easily the consensus will be 4 tires and fuel to go along with it. Pit road will be busy as Mendonca will lead them down. But I'll tell you, Johnny Eckert in the 90 machine, we hadn't really mentioned his name much on the 1.5 miler, or at least the last one we went to at Homestead Miami Speedway. But ever since, he's been very well here at Kansas tonight, and the speed has definitely shown. He's been one of those drivers to put that pressure on the leader and not really let go even in the semi-long run. So I think you may have to look out for the 90 of Eckert as he's done fairly well, and everybody's down pit road getting those 4 fresh tires.
The race is off pit road, and it looks like maybe the 42 truck took 2 tires. He looks like he shot off pit road there first, but it looks like Mendonça is going to lead the race off pit road. Blake Barney is going to come out in second. Johnny Eckert, I believe, is coming out in the third position. So it jumbles up a little bit with Blake Barney continuing his march forward with a great pit stop. And I would say I was going to see if anyone was going to maybe stay out, but I think the drop off was almost the second from what they were running at the beginning of the race. So it was a wise move. I believe everyone went down pit road. And can't remember if Vincent was running before the caution. It looked like he got out of his pits relatively early. That might have been just where he pitted as well, being an earlier pit box, being able to get out earlier. And so because he's back in the 11th position. And just kind of some other guys in the top 10. Leininger is going to be in 4th. Josh Duke is in 5th. You see the 44 truck right behind the 32, and that's Dustin Dewar in 6th. Matt Arcara in 7th. Adam Tepe in 8th. Dominic Curate, hopefully he's got that damage fixed. He'll look to go back up towards the front, is in 9th. And the exciting short track kid won that heat number 1 at Dover a couple weeks ago. Austin Beers will round out the top 10 as they made their way off of pit road. So we've seen kind of how loose these cars can get, and now we're getting into the second half of stage number 1. Do you expect to see maybe a little bit more aggressiveness on this restart to try to get those positions?
I don't necessarily think so, mostly because, at least with the way this first half has gone in this first segment, I think the wise decision will just be to wait on it and just try to see how it all plays out. Because let's say this second half of this first segment becomes chaotic, we get a lot of wrecks, we get a lot of yellows as a result, and maybe it just completely goes the opposite way that it did in the first 20 laps of this race. But if you're expecting what you saw in that first half of the first segment, you're probably going to look to save your stuff a little more, because the longer run speed, even if it's not as deep of a long run, you're still stepping into it a little bit. So if you try to be aggressive early, it probably won't pay off for you come within the next 20 or so laps. So I'd probably expect, if you're anybody, I think anybody in this field, maybe with a better chance in the top 10, saving your equipment, being conservative for the time being, and at least trying to hold your position, get into that rhythm, will be the biggest key if you want to make it to the end. Remember, top 2 invert, so if you want to go for the stage win, why not do it this time?
Yeah, you might as well go for it here, as Blake Barney's going to start on the outside here, see if he can get that good run coming off the corner on the restart as the field doubles up. It appears that they kind of went away with, from what we've seen the past couple weeks, the Delaware restart, and they're lining up all 2x2 throughout the field. So we'll see how hard some of these guys dig. Like you were saying, I agree. I think it's probably a small gain for how hard these cars were to handle on fresh tires. So I think the thing is taking it easy, and we've seen some of these guys like Blake Barney, Dewar, even Campbell. He fell back, but he's working his way back up to the 11th spot. The passing can be done once those tires heat up, so you don't have to be too aggressive right away, but we'll see how aggressive these guys will be as the pace car ducks down onto pit road. And Mendonça is going to lead them to the green flag here in the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Canal 130 here at Kansas Speedway. And Mendonça is got a big jump over Johnny Eckert as Blake Barney kind of falls off on the outside. Didn't get the best of runs coming out of the corner. And look at that push by Leininger, pushing Eckert into turn number 3, close that gap on the leader and see if they can make a run up towards the front. Leininger looks like he might want to pass Eckert on the bottom of the racetrack, and we do have a caution on the racetrack. We'll see what brought out the yellow as we see. Oh, Pruitt, man, the promising start kind of started going sour here as you see him through the grass. Started up in that 6th position, was battling up in the top 5 there early, kind of faded, and currently is going to be one of the last cars here on the lead lap in 21st. Ooh, kind of looked like it went for a wild spin there. Looks like maybe the car got a little upset. Maybe a little bit of help from that 3 truck, just a touch. And around he goes. Doesn't look like he hit anything too bad. The only hurt was his track position as he'll start on the tail end of the lead lap. maybe get some fresh rubbers and try to work his way up to the front, and should be okay. But yeah, I think just a little bit. It doesn't take much here, Kenneth. I think that's, yep, just a little bit of contact between the 3 and the 5.
And it was right there, just working to the bottom. I think the 3 may have just had the better run here, and then tried to peek his nose, got that little tap, and that was right there, sent the 5 around. And I think you mentioned it there. No damage to the 5 truck, so at least that's the good note of concern. I think the only thing that'll be hurting right now, of course, is the track position and the tires, and I think the 5 does recognize that, and you see him ending up on pit road along with, I think, David Carpenter, who got significant damage, Chris Jordan, and Ryan Lutz, who started in 22nd, but has run a handful of laps, and I believe is also on the lead lap as well. You see him drifting out of pit road, but we made that agreement, Mike, that it was going to be better to play the long game here, but now we've got that quick yellow, and we could have cautions breed cautions, and we did see the 12 of Damian Leininger making an aggressive move to the bottom, almost peaked into second before the yellow was thrown, so maybe he has something up his sleeve that we don't know about.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It looks like he was charging up towards the front. And that's one of the things, too, if we keep getting these cautions like that, it's almost every restart's going to be a little bit more hectic because you're running out of green flag laps to work your way up towards the front. So we could definitely see, a little bit more aggressiveness from these drivers as they try to work their way up towards the front. And, I'm expecting to see. I expect to see some wild restarts and maybe more push and see how much that 12 push the 90 up towards the front. So I think they might have figured something out, and how well it worked. As we've seen just how little contact between the 3 and the 5 was. That could lead to some chaos here. Later on in the stage here for if or maybe this restart, maybe if we do have a couple more restarts after this, it could be a little hectic.
Yeah, it definitely could. But one thing I did notice, Mike, is that we haven't seen really the high line kick in as much. I probably was expecting throughout the end of that first semi-long green flag run that we probably see a lot more drivers running the wall at the entrance of maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 and 4, either part of the track that can make it work. I only saw about one driver do it, and it was the 32 of Josh Duke, so props to him for keeping his position while also trying to rip the wall. But I haven't seen anybody step up in grooves apart from maybe Blake Barney. I'll be the exception that he was side by side with another driver for position. That was the reason why he did that. But haven't seen anybody work that top groove, which is very interesting considering the fact that Kansas, especially on the iRacing service, is much of a top-heavy track. You don't really want to go to the white line for any sort of speed. You want to pick up that speed all the way to the top of the track, and that's where you get the momentum off of the corners. So it is interesting to see how iRacing did change it over the course of its build, but at least so far it's helping a good amount of drivers stick to that white line and grab a lot of speed off of it. We've seen the fastest times in practice and qualifying come off of that line.
Yeah, it's a very much a shock to see because, yeah, like you said, it's pretty well known on this track, Kansas, in real life. It used to be in the sim that you run that high line, and so far the bottom line is paying off. But we've seen a couple cars jump up there. I seen the 32, like you were mentioning. He made maintain a lot of track position. I seen the 44 truck of Dustin Dewar kind of run that top line as well, and I don't know if he was gaining a lot of track position when he was doing it, but maybe doing that as a strategy. Maybe the car handles a little bit better up top, as we've seen how loose they get on the bottom too, and kind of how unstable they were just from that accident between Beers and Currit. I just brought out this latest yellow, but as we see, the field is doubled up. The pace car's lights are off. We're going down into turn number 3, and we'll get back to green flag racing here on lap 29 in heat number 1 of the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Canal. 1:30 here at Kansas Speedway. That's a mouthful for the race here, as the pace car dives off onto pit road, and they go back to green flag racing. And Bandanza is going to get a pretty good jump here once again, as the 90 truck doesn't have his push partners. They're going to battle side by side. Damian Leininger and Eckert are going to battle going into turn number 1. Looks like Leininger is going to try to take that second spot. Looks like he's going to get that advantage coming out of turn 2. And Josh Duke, he's going to try to push Leininger up, as well as he's going to try to take that third spot away from Johnny Eckert. And it looks like kind of right now that 90 truck is kind of hung out to dry on that middle lane.
And no helper for Eckert because the helper goes for position to the bottom. So here goes the 12 of Leininger, having the help from Josh Duke. He'll push ahead to turn 1. But as they're going side by side, you may want to see the smiles from the 46 of Mendonca's machine because he wants to see that. He wants to see them go side by side, especially if we stay green for the next 14 laps or so to the end of this first segment. He's led every single lap so far. And so far, the driver of that 46 has done a fantastic job of keeping himself up front, but maybe not for long. Here comes Leininger with a huge run off turn 4.
This is probably the most pressure that he's seen. Oh, it looks like Duke just kind of disappeared and reappeared as he's battling Eckert for that 3rd position. This is probably the best chance that we've seen maybe for a lead change here on lap 31. As you see, he's about 1/10 of a second behind, but he gets a good run going into the corners and see if he can do it going down into turn number 3. And he's kind of pulling a little bit higher line. Now there he's kind of arcing it in more in the corner to see if he gets a good run off. And it looks like just Mendonca is just able to hold him off here and kind of holding that lead steady between like 1/10 to 2/10 of a second. As things kind of get chaotic, you know, behind them here as you see Barney and Duke battling it out behind them for that 4th position and move move Barney up into that 4th spot. And as of right now, it looks like maybe I don't know if a guy needs help in that 2nd position from if Eckert might have to push Damien to get a really good run on Mendonca, but right now it looks like clean air is king.
Yeah, clean air certainly is the biggest factor that's helping Mendonca at this point. I don't think you necessarily need help because we've seen passes for position that didn't need drivers behind to push. And I'm seeing an accordion effect right here because we saw the top 2 break away for just a slight moment. And now Johnny Eckert is starting to pick these guys up along with Barney and Duke. So we may have to see more than 2 trucks in a battle in the final 11 laps of this first segment. Maybe the push will come from the 90 to the 12, and they'll stay single file for the moment. But the question is, when do you make this move? Do you try it now? Do you try it a little bit later? How long do you wait before executing that move? Or when you get that opportunity, do you take it immediately?
I think you have to take it immediately, Kenneth. We've seen how much it's helped Mendonca here as we see Leininger trying to look underneath. And Mendonca's going to throw the little bit of a block here. And, ooh, it looks like the 12 car got a little bit upset. But everyone keeps on trucking. And right now, the guy taking advantage of this is Barney. He's kind of waiting for the dust to settle here in that 4th position. He's just waiting to see if one of these guys can go side by side, maybe pick his lane to see if he can jump up and battle for that lead as well, as we're in lap 35 of 44 here in stage number 1. And again, the top 2 invert. So it'll be interesting to see if someone can make that late race pass. Because if not, maybe we'll see if things stand as of right now. Ooh, it looks like now the 46 truck on exit is starting to run it a little wide, but doesn't seem to hurt him too much on speed, as he's still holding him off. But and that's the thing with the top 2 inverting here, Kenneth. That almost could be a big advantage heading into stage number 2.
Yeah, it is a huge advantage, but the thing is that you can definitely go for more. You can be a little more aggressive because let's say you don't necessarily have to run necessarily up in the top 2 to get that invert if you're in a lot of the other races, because you can run within the top 10, top 7, top 12, depending on what rules the admins actually give for the inversion of the drivers in the race when we come to halfway point. However, considering the fact that it's only the top 2, you can run for a lot more knowing that you'll be able to stay up there, come to this next segment, and everybody behind will at least qualify the way they are. But look at these aggressive moves up top, and it is really wearing out on the 90 of Johnny Eckert. Try to swerve, give a push to the 12, maybe a little bit of a shove to the 00. Barney trying to force his nose in, and they are very aggressive with a handful of laps to go.
And you see that 90 truck get a little upset even on the apron there as they're diving into turn number 1, and Barney's going to try to see if he can make that outside line work. Looks like Leininger even gets a little loose there as well in front of him. He's going to block Barney as they're battling for that 2nd position. Leininger's trying to block, and now they're going 3 wide. Oh, for a second there, they went 3 wide, and they settle it out going into turn number 3. But this battle for about 2nd on back is heating up, and now it looks like they're almost going to get. Look, ooh, Duke's going in the grass. Here's a complete lap 39, or going to 39 here on 44. So only about 5 laps to go, 6 laps to go. here left in the stage. These guys are trying to battle. They're trying to get whatever positions they can get. But right now, the leader, Mendonça, is clearly loving this because he's gapping that lead to now about 0.3 of a second. And we've seen even with 0.1 of a second, it's hard to pass for that race lead. But right now, that battle for second on back maybe died down just a little bit as Barney doesn't quite have enough help on that top side. It looks like the 44 truck, Dustin Dewar, is taking a peek to maybe try helping, but he's gonna go on the outside, try to get a run here. Oh, is he gonna get the wall? Oh, it looks like he almost made it. Now you see these cars just swerving all around, trying to get the air clean and try to make these passes. But right now, it's proven to be a little bit difficult.
And this is exactly what the 46 and Mendonça wants to see. He exactly wanted to see in that rearview mirror them going 2 wide, 3 wide. It's a wrecking behind. I believe that's Austin Beers in the 3 machine who got turned around. And in the final 5 laps, we have a yellow flag on track. And we got word from Vic Bloom that we were not going to get a caution clock in that final segment. But now this changes everything completely.
Yeah, it changes everything. And it looks like, I don't know if he got turned by the 44 truck of Dusty Durville to take a look at what happened there. As it looked, or maybe he spun out right in front of him, but we'll take a peek at what exactly happened. As you've seen, the 3 and the 6 were moving their way up through the top 5. Ooh, it looks like Beers washed up a little bit. They make contact, they bump in the wall, and Beers goes around. It just shows you how hard these cars are or trucks are to handle here at Kansas Speedway here tonight. As we've seen a lot of these guys get loose, like, ooh, maybe got a little bit of that tap going into the corner, and maybe give him push the car up the track. Yeah, and just see he's trying to save it, but nothing. It couldn't be done, and he goes around. And right now it looks like Dewar's back in 8th, but he's going to have some damage as he's hit the wall there pretty good. And Beers maybe looks like he didn't get quite as much damage in this wreck, but he's probably going to have to go down pit road for some fresh rubber and maybe fix that rear end damage a little bit.
You know what? I don't think it'll be just him that'll go down pit road. I was looking to see if anybody else was, and it will be a large split. The leader will stay out, followed by Josh Duke, Gerald Campbell. We haven't seen practically all race long, but everybody behind will go down pit road. So everybody fighting for position. Leininger, Eckert, Tepe, they will all Westergreen as well. Arcara, JJ Hill, everybody else behind, they will go down pit road. So now this brings a large question mark for the final 3 laps between old tires and new tires.
Yeah, I think you see, what is it about? The first guy to duck down pit road. We'll see how they get off of pit road here, but I think it's about 5th on back have pitted, and I'm gonna say there's probably enough buffer for Mendonça to hold off some of these guys like Leininger, who got off pit road, and he's gonna get off pit road in the 8th position. Adam Tepe is in 7th. Maybe took a 2-tire pit stop there. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how these tires are well, I guess they're probably about 20 laps old here, Kenneth, and we'll see how much this fresh rubber will be an advantage. But they'll only have a green-white checker to do so. So it'll be interesting to see how this race plays out. This could be pretty chaotic.
You know what? I think the high line on fresh tires versus everybody on the inside on old tires will probably prove to be the best at this point. I mean, you have to position yourself first of all, because if you're stuck all the way in the bottom, you have no choice but to either check up or force a hole through somewhere to make a pass through. And at these 1.5 mile tracks, we saw it at Homestead Miami Speedway a couple of weeks ago, just how large the difference is in the tire, where when you have older tires that are worn out over 20 laps versus tires that are pretty much brand new, you have so much more grip. You're able to gain so much more time. The fall off is large over the course of a run. So when you have fresh tires, it feels like the truck or the car is invincible on the grip side versus everybody that doesn't have as much grip. They have to let off the throttle a little bit more. But what's even more interesting here, Mike, is that we had a battle for position off pit road as well. You saw Johnny Eckert and David Leininger come in 1-2 on pit road. Leininger lost a spot to Tepe, and Johnny Eckert lost about 3. He's behind Matt Arcara, right in between himself and the 23 of Harrison Thailand. So there has been lost positions. There has been some lost ground. It's just a matter of how much time they have left in order to carve through the field.
Yeah, this is where I think we're going to see those guys that went down pit road be aggressive. Eckert going all the way back from 3rd to the 10th spot. He's going to look to try to get up towards the front again and contend for that win. And some of these guys, maybe rolling the dice here a little bit. You see Dewar. I'm kind of surprised he didn't come down pit road with that damage. We'll see how his truck is. And how about Vincent Isabella? He always seems to find his way up front, and just top 2 guys in the points. Number 6 truck of Gerald Campbell as well. They always seem to know how to end up, as long as they're running, they know how to get up front and battle, for a top five spot at the end of these stages. But we're down to 1 lap to go to green. We're going to settle this out, and all the questions will be answered in just a couple moments as they're heading out of turn number 2 with Richard. It looks interesting that Blake Barney just pulling off pit road, barely able to stay on the lead lap. So interesting to see what happened there to kind of put him in that position. And looks like 1 car getting a wave around there as well. I think that's the 3 truck of Austin Beers, who was just involved in that latest yellow. And yeah, we'll see what's going to happen, how this is going to be settled. Is it what's going to be the right strategy call? Is it going to be staying out on these old tires, like about 1st through 5th, or is it going to be is the advantage going to be ducking down pit road and taking the fresh rubber? We're about to find out as the pace car, is about to dive down onto pit road, and we'll settle this once and for all here in the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Canal 130 here for the OSCA Truck Series round number 6. Stage number 1 is about to end here, and they're going back to green, and Mendonça is going to get a good jump, a huge jump, as Gerald Campbell is going to try to get on the inside of Josh Duke heading down into turn number 1. And it looks like Campbell, he's going to take that 2nd spot, and he's going to try to charge up front and maybe get a good run to contend for the win. But right now, looks like it's Mendonca's race to lose.
And watch this, 4 wide as Adam Tepe and Adam Leininger tried splitting the middle. 1 car's into the wall. That was the 44 of Dewar, and they were trying to split their way as they can. But up front, the 46 of Richard Mendonça will grab the white flag in the air one more time around Kansas Speedway. For the first segment, it is a large pack as they dive back to turn 1.
And that gap's closing a little bit. The question is, do they have enough time? Gerald Campbell, we've seen him. He's a multi-time winner here in the OSCA Truck Series. Can he do it here in stage number 1? He's going to have to go all out here in turn number 3. Can he get the run? Oh, it looks like Duke gets a little upset as he gets a little contact with the 43 or 42. And they're going to be 3 wide. And it looks like Mendonça is going to win stage number 1. Gerald Campbell 2nd. And they're 3 wide back later in the top 5. It's going to be Mendonça, Campbell, Leininger in 3rd. Vincent Isabella coming home in 4th. Josh Duke in 5th. And I believe that's all I kind of quick caught there. Kind of a crazy rundown of the finishing order. So again, Mendonça winning stage number 1, an impressive battle. Look at that battle, 3 wide going down to the line. And what an impressive run leading from start to finish every lap. So I think he kind of proved that staying out was the right answer.
It definitely was, but give it a couple more laps and Damian Leininger could have been there. He was already 3rd at the start-finish line when they were crossing to the checkered flag. But for now, at least Richard Mendonça can hold that over his head. He'll only be inverted to the outside of row number 1, so no detriment to him whatsoever. And now I guess we're stuck in our warm-up here for about 5 minutes, but I'm going to be curious to see how the weather will be affected. We saw nighttime settings in the first race. Maybe we'll see some daytime conditions coming to race number 2.
I believe the first heat was going to be a night race, obviously, and now we're about at noon. So we see how slick these trucks were, slipping and sliding at night. I would only imagine that things are going to be worse now that we're running under the sunlight, and things could get a little crazy here. We got about 3.5 minutes, a little over 3.5 minutes here left of warm up. We can take a quick break here, and we'll see how heat number 2 of the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Canal 130 here at Kansas Speedway for round 6 of the OSCA series will settle. We'll be right back after these messages.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Hello and welcome back here to the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park 130 here for the OSCA Series round number 6. We're getting ready to start stage number 2. We've seen stage number 1 winner Richard Mendonça dominate, lead green flag to checkered. The whole heat race he led, so we'll see maybe if now they invert the top 2 if Gerald Campbell can do the same. But I gotta say, Kenneth, that it looked like maybe the clean air was king, and maybe now with the nighttime today, kind of unorthodox transition. Usually it's the other way around, obviously, daytime to night. That these cars can handle different, and maybe we'll see some other players up front battling for the stage 2 win.
Yeah, and we now see the grid filed out. Gerald Campbell will be the leader. Remember, we also mentioned the top 2 would be the only ones inverting. So considering the fact that Mendonça won this first stage and Gerald Campbell finished second, they will revert around and Campbell will be the leader to the green flag. But yeah, we did talk about it just a little bit while we were under break. The fact that at least this series, I'm not sure whether it's on purpose or not, but they've chosen the decision to run the first race under the lights when the track is a lot grippier and the track is a lot cooler, and then give the extra added challenge in the second heat where you put the daytime conditions back in, and then you see the track get a lot more slick. So we'll try to see how that works out. We saw a lot of loose race trucks in the first race, even with that grip. So I can only imagine under the sun it'll be a lot worse, and it'll be a lot more of a handful to trying to control these race cars.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how hard it will be for these drivers to handle these race trucks, and we're about to find out as we see the grid rolling off of pit road. And one thing we were talking about during the break, Kenneth, was that new pace car. It's a beautiful pace car. iRacing, you know, they kind of wanted to go brand neutral here, but it looks like it's got a couple mixes of different cars here, and a pretty beautiful looking machine.
Yeah, and iRacing using that as a part of their build, and I think it's so long to the oval Mustang they used to pace the field every now and then. So I think we're going to have to get used to a new sight up front when we're under yellow, but nonetheless a beautiful sedan, beautiful car, and a lot of great design cues put into it. So at least maybe a bright future to lean over for that brand new iRacing pace car, which will dip down in a couple seconds.
Yes, it's going to get ready to dive down on a pit road. We're going to start heat number 2. Gerald Campbell's going to lead him to green. Our stage 1 winner, Mendonça, is going to be along the outside to see how he's going to do, not controlling the restart. And right now, it looks like for things pretty tight up front as the field's going to be 2 by 2 as they take the green flag. Oh, it looks like Leininger gets in the grass a little bit, gets loose. He's going to lose a bunch of track positions. He's going to fall all the way back into about 5th. And oh, Duke and Arcara get into the wall. Arcara, a hard hit. Goes back down on the inside of the track. Looks like no one else is involved. They're going to stay green flag racing, but there's some heavy damage on that 45 machine. As of right now, that dominance for Mendonça is he's battling on that outside. He's looking to get back up front of Gerald Campbell, but on lap number 1, it's going to be Gerald Campbell, I believe. He's going to lead it at the stripe.
And barely now side by side, and we saw a little bit of pinching from drivers in that first race, and maybe it'll help out a little bit under fresh rubber. It's not going to be the best for Mendonça right now, but how about a driver we haven't mentioned, at least throughout the segment so far? Vincent Isabella for IG Racing in the 42. Haven't seen him all night long, and now this is his shot to come up to the field at a promising second finish in the final 2 laps of that race. And look at the block by Campbell all the way down to the apron as Mendonça still tries to fight hard.
This is probably the best battle for the lead we've seen all night long as Mendonça's trying to stay side by side, but he's going to fall back in the clutches of Vincent Isabella for that second position. And you know Vincent Isabella wants to get his shot at Gerald Campbell. He's got to try to take advantage to gain some points on Gerald Campbell, but right now, that battle between the top 2, as you see him just battling side by side, coming out of turn number 4. It's Gerald Campbell's going to continue to get the advantage here as we see, wow, look at Ryan Lutz. We haven't said his name all night long, and now he moves up into that 6th position. So give an attaboy. You know, usually he shows a lot more speed in some of these short tracks, flat tracks. Ooh, a caution does come out. Oh, the field fans out as they try to woe up the field. And it looks like maybe Harrison Talion is going to be involved. Ooh, the 5 truck of Dominic Curett. Another unfortunate event for him as he started. Yeah, you see he started the stage back in 22nd, so he didn't get to move up through the field after his spin. Ooh, it's some heavy damage to the left side of his truck. And we'll take a look at the replay here on KBRN Network. Oh, looks like he might have got some help there. He tries to dive down into turn number 1. Looks like Mandova. Ooh, I think it appeared there. You know, got a help from the 20 car, Shane D. Mandova. It looked like maybe the 5 truck kind of looks like he washed up the track, maybe scrubbed a little bit more speed than the 20 was anticipating.
And this is a similar situation to what we saw off turn 4 with the same driver of the 5 and Austin Beers. And it was right there, almost got put into a sandwich and had to check up. And we already seen throughout the night how that apron has been so effective on speed. If you tap it just a little bit, it'll slow your truck down. Exactly what happened to the 5, and then D. Mantova, no time to check up there. Gets barely into the 5, but enough to send him up the track. What a job, though, by the 00 Blake Barney to get around. Watch this as he was edging by this wreck.
Yeah, see it with that new smoke here. The iRacing build can't see a whole heck of a lot. Who chose the right lane last second and gets by, and he'll be able to try to work his way back up through the field. And now he's still got a clean truck because he's going to dive down pit road to get the fresh tires. I believe there's a couple takers on pit road here. I believe probably about 14th on back. I think Harrison Talion is going to be the one that kind of led him down pit road. And we'll see, you know, only a couple laps of green flag racing to see if this will be kind of advantage for these drivers to take tires. You know, kind of seen at the end of stage number 1, it didn't play a huge factor for the contention for the win, as those guys who stayed out were the ones kind of battling for the win, as Gerald Campbell and Mendonça were the ones that stayed out. And now that's why they're up front right now, battling 1-2. But it appears to be just kind of seeing some of the cars get upset. We've seen Keurig kind of get that bobble, and even sometimes on the restart, we've seen some of these cars get a little bit upset. So maybe that daylight driving here at Kansas Speedway is proving a little bit more difficult than than the stage 1 night race was going for them.
Yeah, it's way slicker than what it was under nighttime conditions. You have, when the track is cooled down, when the track is under the lights, there's a lot more grip in the tires as the track is cooled. It's not as slick, but even then, even in what usually isn't considerably hot weather here in Kansas, even during the daytime in most of the seasons, it's definitely still hot. It does affect the slickness of the cars, and any sort of sunlight, any sort of warmth on the track will make the tires be a little bit slicker and will maybe affect the grip a lot more. We've seen it at very high temperature tracks. I can name probably Phoenix, Atlanta, to set a few examples where pretty much where the sun is beaming right on the track. You have a track temperature of over 100 degrees, and it is not easy to put the gas down or to handle the race cars in any of those situations. So even then, under daytime conditions, it makes the trucks a lot slicker, and especially since you're used to that higher grip setting from the first race, it may not be as easy to transfer it over into the second one. But I mean, we haven't seen anything much here, Mike. Only a 6-lap run before we had our first yellow, so not necessarily anything to note and to take away from this first run, and I'm eager to see what happens when we edge into our next restart.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, just a little. We did see it in stage number 1 at the beginning of the race too, where some of these trucks were getting a little bit upset going through the corners. So, yeah, I think the tale will be told here once we get going back to green, and it appears the pace car's lights are off, and they're going to be double filing up on this restart. And Gerald Campbell is going to choose, I believe, maybe now he's going down to the inside. I thought maybe he was going to choose the outside lane, but he's going to duck down to the inside and have Mendonça line up on his outside as they get ready to go back green. But, you know, maybe because we didn't see a whole heck of a lot of passing for the top 2 spots, and we've seen how more bunched up Gerald Campbell led that field to the green flag. We'll see if Campbell can get a better jump on the restart and try to pull away here a little bit from the field and kind of see if they can spread it out a little bit more, because the field seemed pretty stacked up going on to that restart. And we'll see what happens here. As it looks like Vincent Isabella, he's getting right on the back bumper of that 6 truck. He's going to try to maybe do that push that we've seen Leininger do to Eckert on one of the restarts in stage number 1. And we're about to find out if that is the case, as the pace car is ready to duck down onto pit road. And Gerald Campbell's going to lead him back to green here in the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park, 1:30 here at Kansas Speedway for the OSCA Series. And here we see a lot better restart for Gerald Campbell as they take the green flag. And now Vincent Isabella is going to take advantage, and he's going to try to battle for that second spot, leaving Mendonça on that outside. But he's going to have a little bit of help if the 90 truck of Eckert can get up there and maybe draft with him and keep that battle at bay between the 46 and the 42. And yeah, I think Mendonça's getting a pretty good run on the outside, probably one of the better ones this early on into a run. And, maybe a little bit of contact, as you see about 3 wide here. I think right now we're 3 wide for sure, going into turn number 1 between the 40, the 96, and the 12. Looked like the 12 car got a little bit loose, but everyone's keep going as they head down off of turn number 2, and it looks like there's going to be a battle for second spot.
And they're blocking all the way to the inside white line, and I think the only problem here for the higher grooves, and we saw it in that first segment, we continue to see it in this second one, is that when you pick your nose up top, when you try to pinch, it does work for a handful amount of seconds, but then after you exit the corner, you don't necessarily get the run, and you're pretty much stalled up there to the point where you'll start to get mired back in traffic as a result. But the inside is the best way around, and that proved the benefit to the 42 of Vincent Isabella, new race leader on lap number 11. Here's Mendonça to follow along to help, and now Campbell is all the way stuck on the high line.
Yeah, wow, Vincent Isabella, this is our first pass for the lead here tonight. Vincent Isabella, he's trying to get that another win here in the OSCA Truck Series. He's won it a few weeks ago. I believe it was at New Hampshire. I can't quite remember what track he did win his stage at, as that battle still continues on for that top 5 spot. Look at how close these trucks are battling. Here right behind Vincent Isabella. It looks like Campbell's going to try to get on the inside. They're going below the white line. Oh boy, this could be trouble going down into 3, and they're going to make it work as Campbell's going to retake the lead, and they are side by side for second on back. Maybe looking to be 3 wide here in a second. Oh, trucks getting upset. The 90 of Eckert, the 12 of Leininger battling it out in that top 5. Ryan Lutz, he's throwing his hat into the ring here. He's going to try to work his way up to the front. Looks like, oh man, Johnson's getting a little loose coming out of the corner. He's going to be able to save it. Oh, maybe not. Oh, he gets a little bit of wall contact, but he's going to move forward. But oh, our Heat 1 winner is going to lose a bunch of track position as he's going to fall all the way back into about the 12th spot. And don't look now, Ryan Lutz moves up into that 3rd position as Vincent Isabella is looking to take that lead back from Gerald Campbell as we come to lap 14.
And what a wild turn of events there, Mike, between everybody within that, say, the top 7 or 8. All of them punched in, all of them in a large pack, and no margin for error. They've now separated by a good amount now. As you see, they are fighting for that position. Damian Leininger and Johnny Eckert, along with Robert Hill Jr., who we haven't mentioned. The driver of the 84 truck got a little bit of damage in the first segment, but has rebounded well, along with Blake Barney in the 7th spot as well. Also, David Westergreen stepping into the top 10, so can't forget about a lot of these guys making promising runs, maybe grabbing some extra points. And here comes Isabella again to the bottom side with that Chevrolet Silverado, Campbell.
It's looking like almost a race at Talladega. Draft so important. You see how there's no white line or yellow line rule here at Kansas. They're jockeying for position wherever they can get that track position. And Vincent Isabella is going to take the lead over Gerald Campbell coming out of turn number 4. He looks like he's going to lead this lap, and he's going to try to get Ryan Lutz is going to try to take advantage too, get that good push. But Campbell, he's hanging on that outside. Very impressive. He's going to try to do what he can. Leininger is going to try to go to the top side as well, try to give that push to get that top line going. And more cars are going to be on the bottom here, of course, but just enough where Vincent Isabella can't quite run the line he wants to. As Campbell looks like he's going to get a little bit of advantage going into the corner. So we'll see how it's going to be coming out. Looks like Campbell's going to try to pinch him, not quite able to do so. As they come to the line side by side, it's going to be a dead heat.
Well, it's been way aggressive here since the drop. But watch Ryan Lutz as you're riding on board.
Ooh.
Splitting the middle on the front straightaway. 3 wide for the race lead as Lutz will make a fantastic move up the middle, and Campbell will try to return the favor down low. He'll make the space again, 3 wide for the lead as Lutz tries to hold on up top using the wider arc. Well, it is wild, and we talked about conservatism in the opening segment of race 1. Well, it is nowhere to be seen on lap 17, still even at the line.
3 wide, still battling for the lead. Looks like Campbell's going to get a little bit of an advantage here going into 1. Looks like he's going to clear the 2 trucks of Isabella and Lutz, and he's going to take the lead. How about Barney? He's going to make it 3 wide here as well, and Lutz kind of stuck on that outside line right now. And look at how far they're blocking, trying to hold on to these positions as Campbell's still holding on to that lead. And here Ryan Lutz is going to work his way back up, pulling up alongside Vincent Isabella as they're going to complete lap number 18. And side by side for second spot, Vincent Isabella and Ryan Lutz. They're putting on a pretty good show here, folks, in the second heat, as it's a wild ride. And look at David Westergreen, like you said, had that tough luck on the beginning part of stage number 1, didn't get the best results, and now he's worked his way up into the 7th position, and he's holding on to it, and he's looking like he's going to get a run on the outside here as well, trying to gain more spots. As now we got lap traffic up for the leaders, I believe. And that looks like the 32 truck of Josh Duke. As looks like they're able to file right by him as he's looks like he's a little bit slowed up. As now things kind of single file for the top 4 positions, maybe top 5. As what does it look like? What truck is that there? The blue truck, I believe that is, it's Leininger, the 12. And Shane DiMandova, we haven't mentioned his name a whole heck of a lot besides couple incidents he was involved in tonight. He's moved up into that 5th position, and he's looking for more as he's going to try to chase down the top 4.
And Mantova picked up that damage in the opening segment of race number 1 after an early incident and pretty much fell down through the running order ever since. But this has been the comeback, and I think that's been the story for Mantova for most of the races as they got contact behind Robert Hill and Eckert involved in an incident on lap 21. And I was going to bring up the possibility of a caution clock coming out, but we've got 2 Chevrolet Silverados involved in an incident and 2 trucks involved with at least heavy damage to the 84.
Yeah, it looks like he got into the wall, and Eckert was trying to dodge him there. We'll take a look at the replay to see what exactly happened. He's seen the 84 truck get a little one into the corner, and maybe a little bit of contact that started that. Ooh, it looks like the 90 of Eckert washed up just a little bit. Ooh, contact between the 12 and the 90. And just, oh, a hard hit there. I didn't see that from the 23 truck of Harrison Talion. So unfortunate for him, that could be detrimental to the motor. And yeah, it looks like the 84 and 23 are kind of the guys that took the brunt of it. It doesn't appear that the 90 truck's going to be too damaged. Maybe a little bit on the rear end there as you see him go around. I think he avoids contact with the wall and everyone else. But again, the 23 and the 84, it looks like they're going to have to come down pit road and get some damage fixed.
They're right on board with the 23 of Harrison Talion. As you see the smoke up top, slows down at this point, nowhere to go. Tries to dive down the track, but the 84 is already on the way there down the banking. And a hard hit for the 23. And you mentioned it right, possible engine damage to the 23. And that might easily set his night in stone. And what has already been a tough one for the 23 has not been one of high track position. But meanwhile, Mike, everyone is down pit road, including the race leaders. And I'm not sure what's happening here. I think Edwards might have missed his pit stall, was a little bit hesitant off pit road. I think he'll have to pit next time by. But the real winner, I think, will be Ryan Lutz in the 36.
Yeah, he might have been a guy to take 2 tires. He's not afraid to gamble. He might have seen how important track position was. He likes to be in the lead. We'll see if 2 tires are going to pay off for him as we're about halfway through this stage. And well, we'll see how these different strategies work. Looks like maybe Blake Barney did the same thing. He's coming out in 3rd, which will probably be 2nd if Edwards does come down pit road, as it does appear that he did miss his pit box. And so it's going to be, as of right now, as it sits, it's going to be Edwards, Lutz, Barney, your top 3. Gerald Campbell in 4th. Shane Mantova is going to be in 5th. Isabella, who we've seen him battling up front for that lead spot, he's going to be all the way back in 6th. So this is going to jumble up the field just a little bit, and we'll see with a couple new players, and it appears Edwards is going to stay out, that this can make this race just a little bit more interesting now. And not that it already wasn't.
Well, yeah, and I was going to mention tire wear as a big factor into those early runs, because if you're running so aggressively, you're running 3 too wide for position, and you're still running at such a high intensity, the tires have to wear, especially with the heat on the track, and probably the added wear as well, considering the fact that we're running under the afternoon conditions. But I think this was the saving grace. That caution brought everybody down pit road, brought everybody to fresh tires, and now we are probably posed in the same situation that we were in the first segment, where we had a caution at the halfway mark, and then it was all about what happened after, where we had just a couple of yellows to follow before going green the rest of the way. So I'm curious to see whether that pans out the same way. But we're seeing an assortment of drivers practically different from what we saw in the first segment. We didn't talk at all about Ryan Lutz, considering the fact that he pretty much started all the way in the dead end, didn't set a time in qualifying, and now has stepped up his Old Testament Chevrolet Silverado up to what may be the race lead, as again Gabriel Edwards will stay out, so he'll be in that P2. Blake Barney coming back after being set 1 lap down. I think had a penalty down pit road in the final pit stop of the evening. Shane Mantova running his Nebula Esports, his Road to Pro competition, Toyota Tundra. He's now in the mix. Vincent Isabella back in it also as well. How about Austin Beers and David Westergreen sitting also within the top 10?
Yeah, Westergreen still holding on to that 9th spot after, a couple of different pit strategies for the guys up front. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see what, Ryan Lutz with the 2 tires. I'm thinking the 52 truck might be a sitting duck, but, maybe worth leading a couple laps here for him. And we'll see how well these different strategies will work out as we are, again, 1 lap to go to green. as they're coming out of turn 2. The pace car lights are off, and yeah, I think we're gonna see maybe that intensity ramp up, and not that it wasn't before that. We've seen the battles 3 wide going on here, and with these different strategies, I think it's gonna prove that that these guys are gonna be a little bit wild and crazy on this restart, trying to get around maybe the slower truck of Gabriel Edwards, if the tire wear is that big of a factor, which I'm gonna kind of believe it might be. But we're about to find out, as the pace car is gonna dive down to pit road, and we're gonna restart this race on lap number 26 of 43 of stage number 2 here at the OSCA series at Kansas. And it looks like Lutz is gonna dive right down on the bottom, tuck in behind the 52 truck of Gabriel Edwards, and he's going to get a pretty good push by Blake Barney, who's going to be in the battling for that 3rd spot. Oh, looks like Lutz is going to make contact with the double zero. Double zero makes contact with the 36. They get sideways. Demantova is going to take on the inside. He's trying to take advantage. He moves into the 4th spot. He's going to try to take the 3rd spot away from Blake Barney, as it looks like Campbell retakes the lead. Ooh, is there some more smoke as some of these trucks are getting sideways? The trucks all over the place as they jockey for position. And right now, Gerald Campbell up front. That 52 truck's trying to hold 2nd spot, but it looks like it's going to be a tough task to keep them at bay.
Well, there's nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. You see the 52 washing up the track. A little bit of a bumper hit from the 00 to Demantova, but they're able to save it. Boy, we've seen a lot of those close calls all night long, and that is only allowing Campbell to run away with the race lead on lap number 27. Coming to lap number 28, it's again another large pack, but here comes the real question. How long will it take before the accordion effect starts to set in and these drivers start to catch up to Campbell from the draft? How long will it take before Campbell might get swallowed by the rest of the field? We'll have to see as Demantova clears over for 2nd.
As right now, with these guys attempting to go 3 wide, that might hurt. Oh, there's contact between the 3 truck of Beers and Lutz as he's trying to work his way back up. Oh, he looks like he hip-checked him there a little bit, pushes Beers up into the wall. He's going to, I thought he was going to get into Westergreen there for a second, but Beers is going to drop down the standings. He's going to fall all the way out of the top 10. As we look on the onboard here of the 00, Blake Barney starting all the way back into 20th position, working his way up to 4th. As it looks like they're going to be single file to take that charge to get back up to Gerald Campbell's bumper. And, well, maybe these 2 ID Racing teammates, they're getting a little impatient here as Vincent Isabella is going to try to take that 2nd spot away, but they're still getting close to getting on that bumper of Gerald Campbell. And we've seen Isabella do it before. We've seen him pass Campbell for the lead. He's going to try to do it again as we complete lap number 29 of 43.
We are now stepping into our final 10 laps of this race. Top 4 have broken away, all of them Toyota Tundras, apart from your race leader, as Isabella and Barney have swept by the 20 of Demantova. And I mentioned the accordion effect, and it's starting to come into play right now. Isabella right to the back bumper of the 6 machine, tries to peek the nose to the bottom, and it'll not be enough. Boy, we've seen a lot of blocking here tonight so far with about 13 laps to go. Watch the battle, though, for about 7th. Here's David Westergreen under Ryan Lutz, and what has been a comeback night for that 2 machine.
Yeah, how about that run by David Westergreen, working his way up past Ryan Lutz for that 6th spot. Maybe that 2-tire strategy not working the best for Ryan Lutz, as you've seen him just trying to battle, stay up front, maybe burnt up his stuff a little bit too as he was driving a little wildly there on the restart. But here we go for the lead. Vincent Isabella was trying to take a look. Campbell's going to throw a block, and right now Campbell able to hold off Isabella as of right now. But right now it looks like you said, those 3 Toyotas are sitting there waiting and lurking, maybe a little bit loose for the 42 truck, but he's able to keep it straight. And now Campbell once again pulling away just by a couple car lengths. Isabella not able to stay right up, tucked up on that bumper, but maybe Isabella's going to try to work his way up, get a good run, as Campbell continues to lead here on as we come to lap number 33 of 43 in heat stage number 2.
And what you're noticing over the course of this longer run, especially with the aggressive racing amped up to 11, watch this run off for turn 2. Watch how high they come off the track, washing up almost to the barrier. You see them both looking down. Campbell blocking once again to the bottom. Isabella almost chopping the nose away, and a huge shut of the door by the 6 of Campbell. This will only allow Barney to catch up once more and maybe make another move, forcing the nose to the inside. Here he'll have space. Isabella in the 42 to the outside. Help up top from Blake Barney, and still easily on the door panel goes the 42 as they continue to wash up the track off of the second corner.
And don't look now, here comes Damian Leininger. He's gonna throw his hat in the ring here as well, as he's now up into 5th. He's caught up to these top 4 packs, so maybe another Chevrolet up there battling with these Toyotas, and maybe even Westergreen now. He's going to try to jump up and nab onto the back end of this lead draft here as they continue to be side by side. That was about a dead heat coming to the line. I think the interval, they gave the lap lead to Isabella, but the interval, was about under a 1/10 of a second, or 0.0049 seconds for lap lead there for Vincent Isabella, as they're still side by side with under 10 laps to go here in stage number 2. And right now the help is going to be on the bottom for Vincent Isabella, as Blake Barney, his teammates, going to try to give him a push going down into turn 1. They're driving all the way down almost into the grass, but it looks like maybe that inside line is going to get the advantage here this time coming into turn number 1. But man, you got to give credit to Campbell, all alone on that outside line, able to hold on and stay right alongside Vincent Isabella for that lead. He's like a pit bull, man. He's not going to give up this lead too easy. Oh, there's contact. Oh. And we've seen how aggressive these guys were trying to battle for the lead. You've seen them, how much they fanned out, sometimes running all the way below the yellow line. And it looked like maybe a little bit too brave of a block there for Gerald Campbell making contact. And maybe Vincent Isabella trying to stand his ground a little bit as the 6 truck goes around. There appears no damage, as he didn't hit the wall or anything, but it's going to be certainly a tall task, and it could play a huge favor. Maybe, what's up? Maybe he's going to get loose. Looked like maybe they were going to try to side draft. Maybe a little bit of net code came into play, but definitely contact between the 42 and the 6, sending the 6 car around Gerald Campbell, your points leader, and that was your second place runner of Vincent Isabella, that the bumper he turned off of here. Let's kind of see what happened. Oh, just getting a little loose. Yeah, it appears to be net. From hearing the race official, there was net code that kind of initiated this contact. Just see right there as the truck gets a little upset. There's that little bubble sometimes that happens in iRacing. And that appears what started the 6 truck to get a little squirrely. But I think that one of the big things they added again in this big build that they had just a couple days ago was the effectiveness of the side draft, and I think that's what Vincent Isabella was trying to do going down the backstretch.
The moment, but at least we have 2 trucks staying out. Chris Jordan and Ryan Lutz will be the top 2 with about 4 laps to go.
Yeah, as we see, just again, various type of strategies as your top 2 stay out. You see Lutz, he took 2 tires on his only pit stop so far of this stage. And we've seen it work in heat number 1. You've seen Mendonça able to hold him off on the old tires. There wasn't enough time for the guys that took 4 to work their way up through the field. But as again, the guys who did take at least 2 fresh tires, David Westergreen's the first one off pit road. He's going to line up right behind the number 4 truck of Jordan once we get doubled up coming back to the green. And it's going to be interesting to see. You know, we have Ryan Lutz, who has not only older right side tires, you know, by about 20 or so laps, but he's on his original set of left side tires. It's going to be interesting to see how this race will play out once we go back to green.
Yeah, and only mentioned the last time that Jordan and Ryan Lutz pit was 17 laps ago. So at least mentioned by one of the people in the chat, and also considering the fact that it's way hotter in the track with the tire wear, it's at the right front will be affected heavily here instead of the right rear. Instead of places like Atlanta where the right rear will kick out loose and you'll probably wear it a lot more, the right front will be under heavy loads when you're sailing into the corner, pretty much almost full out, full throttle throughout the banking and the progressive banking all the way at the bottom here at Kansas. So that's also one thing to note here when you're going to these tracks. I think Homestead Miami Speedway also has that same problem. A lot of these 1.5 motors. I think we'll also see it at Las Vegas when we'll also have right front issues starting to come into play, and they'll be the ones that will be affected the most. And that's the reason why you see drivers just washing up the track out of every corner. But instead of the last time, Mike, where we had practically about 5 to 6 cars on their old tires versus everybody on new tires, we have everybody on new tires in the second row on back. So we'll probably see a swallow of the field from the 4 and the 36 of Ryan Lutz. They may be under heavy pressure with just 2 laps to go on a restart.
Yeah, the front row doesn't have quite the buffer that they had in stage number 1. We're about to see whose strategy was the best strategy here. As again, it's very different from stage number 1. As I think the top 5 is going to be jumbled up here compared to where they are right now. But Chris Jordan's going to lead them back to green with the green-white checkered. Gerald Campbell gets a good jump. Lutz trying to block Westergreen to get in the inside line. And trying to push is the 2 truck of Westergreen as they dive down into turn number 1. As of right now, pretty good start for the 4 truck. See if he can hold off those guys on fresh tires as Blake Barney's going to try to go on the outside, battling David Westergreen for that 3rd position.
And watch Ryan Lutz, no rule to the bottom of the track, forces his nose in, but not enough. Contact, they both go up the racetrack. Jordan goes flipping around, Barney also involved. It's a big crash here. Barney goes tumbling into the grass, and we have a pileup off turn 4 in the final laps of this race.
And it was the big one here to end this race. And oh man, Vincent Isabella is going to be your leader with Shane DeMantova going to come out in second. Looked like, I'm not quite sure what caused the big pile up between I think the 96 get loose, but yeah, you see Lutz just dive bomb to the bottom. No rule, but Jordan wasn't going to give him any room. Oh, it looks like those guys made it through. Tepe might have just made contact with the 2 that kind of, they were in front of the whole entire field. A lot of trucks involved. That 00, as you said, flipping over, went for a wild ride as he was sideways, and oh, some heavy contact. Wow, flipping. Tepe's heavy damage to his truck as well. You look at Westergreen. Looked like he was going to inherit the race lead after Jordan and Lutz make contact. But I think, as you see, once this wreck happens, he's going to lose it a little bit and gets right back up into Westergreen. Oh, man. Westergreen cannot catch a break. Man, and a lot of other trucks here involved. And, oh, man, you almost got to look at the in-car camera of Vincent Isabella if we get a chance. He probably gets either the good hands driver of the race, or maybe I'm lucky as all get out move of the race here. As you look on the gyro cam here of Vincent Isabella, it seemed just, oh, man, so close to getting involved in that wreck, but he's now your race leader.
Watch also this. This is further behind. This is the 12 of Damian Leininger. He practically split to the middle. This is right in the midst of the action. Just watch this as they go back into the banking turn 3.
Ooh, makes a little contact. Wow, that could have been much worse though. That could have been a lot worse for Damian, as he's going to have a little bit of damage, but I think if he can push and maybe make the right moves, he can still at least get in the top 5. You see Chris Jordan with heavy damage of his Ford truck, blowing the motor as his night appears to be done. But it looked like he had a shot at holding off Ryan Lutz for that lead. But right now, again, we're going to get ready to go back to green flag racing here once again. Another green-white checkered as the... Oh, I guess we're going to get another lap under caution here. A lot of cars involved, maybe a few more yellow flag laps. And right now, it appears there's only about 12 cars right now on the racetrack.
Yeah, that took a lot of trucks out of this one. Practically everybody from the top 12 are either now starting to crawl their way in or are pretty much out of this race. David Westergreen included. You see Ryan Lutz stuck down pit road. Harrison Tylen in the 23. He'll be able to gain some spots off of what was a rough opening stint, being involved in the caution with Robert Hill and Johnny Eckert. Barney is practically out after pretty much soaring over the field. Jordan also resetting down at pit road. Robert Hill mentioned out of this race earlier, but has definitely thinned the field a lot more. But watch the drivers start on back. We talk about Vince Isabella, Shani Mantova. They have started to emerge from the fold here, but segment 1 winner Richard Mendonça has slipped into the podium spot, and he will most likely start on the inside of row number 2. And we've seen just how good the restarts are for the drivers in that second row. So maybe for Mendonça, this could be the equal opportunity to repeat, take a second checkered flag in a row here at Kansas, sweep the races in the OSCA Truck Series, at least save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park 130, and we'll see exactly what happens. Not as many trucks, but it's just going to be a lot of high-intensity action.
As you saw all the carnage on pit road, and we're going to see we still got a good number of trucks left here to battle it out for the win. You got 2 teammates up front in Isabella and Mantova, but again, you have stage number 1 winner Richard Mendonça in that 3rd spot. Damian Leininger, we're going to see how badly damaged this truck is once we get going back to green, but he's going to try to defend off and hold on to a top 5 position. So there's a lot of things that could unfold yet. And how about something? I don't think the guy we mentioned all night, David Carpenter, in that 9th spot, kept his truck clean. So it'll depend on how this restart goes for some of these guys. And Dominic Curate is a guy also in the 6th spot. See, he had that heavy damage from the first caution, I believe it was. See if he can get him a good solid finish after a rough start. But right now we have to settle this race here, as Vincent Isabella is going to lead him down to the green flag with a green-white checkered finish. The pace cars ready to dive off, and they're going to go back to green flag racing here. And Isabella with a pretty good restart. And wow, pretty spread out here on the restart. And look at, Mendonça is going to take that 2nd spot from Shane Mantova. And right now it might be a 2-car battle here, 2-truck battle between the 42 and 46. And wow, Mendonça getting right on that back bumper of Vincent Isabella. He's going to try to put the heat on. And as we've seen before, they're going to block all the way down to that white line.
And Mendonça tried the crossover. You see him peek the nose to the inside, but we know just how the leader has been persistent on blocking those runs. And a little bit of contact there. Mantova got into the 46 a little bit. White flag in the air for the 42 of Vincent Isabella. One more time. They're almost 3 wide for position, but Isabella seems to be clear back to turn 1.
Yeah, it's almost what he wanted to see. He was hoping that they'd maybe go 3 wide for that 2nd spot. Mendonça, he gets a little loose coming out of turn 2, and they're going to be 3 wide for that 2nd position. Eckert all the way down to the bottom of the white line. It looks like Mantova's going to get that run coming out, going into turn number 3, and it looks like it might be a 1-2 finish for ID Racing, as Vincent Isabella is going to lead him off turn number 4. He's going to hold off Shane Mantova to win heat number 2 of the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park. Wow, how about that? Isabella Mantova comes home in 2nd. Johnny Eckert will be able to work his way up to 3rd. Stage 1 winner Mendonça ends up in 4th. And Dominic Curate, after that rough start in stage number 2, he's worked his way up into that 5th position with a solid top 5 run.
And what a great performance here by ID Racing. There's Austin Beers to give his celebratory taps there, as see Josh Duke a little bit slower on the racetrack. Fantastic job by both of the ID Racing members to stay clear. right at the end and give way for Isabella to grab a win here at Kansas. There's Carpenter also to celebrate, and he'll burn it down in front of the virtual fans along with Di Mantova. They'll celebrate together.
It's almost reminiscent of Michael Waltrip and Steve Park back in Rockingham. Oh, they're going to do the bumper-to-bumper burnouts here. And, they're going to both those guys burn it down, an impressive 1-2 finish. And as we noted, the troubles that Gerald Campbell had, he finished all the way back in the 11th position here in stage number 2. So a pretty good points night here overall for Vincent Isabella, as he might gain a little bit of that ground of that deficit that he had. Man, oh man, what a race. What a race that second stage was. A lot of more 3-wide racing. But it looks like we do have some interviews to do. And as you see the unofficial results here, and it looks like Isabella, again, your winner. Di Mantova second, Eckert third, Mendonça fourth, and Cruitt comes home in fifth. Howard Carpenter works his way back up in his sixth spot. Austin Beers, another ID racing truck as well, along with that 71. He's going to come home in sixth. Gabriel Edwards in eighth. Damian Leininger comes home in ninth. And after that tough luck run, getting involved in that wreck, David Westergreen still ends up with a top 10 finish here in the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park, 1:30 at Kansas Speedway. Ooh, that's a mouthful. But anyway, we'll bring in our third place finisher here, Johnny Eckert, into the booth here. And Johnny, looked like a wild ride. Looked like some crazy 3-wide action here tonight, but you're able to get that third place finish in stage number 2, and you had a solid night even in the first stage, getting a 6th place run. How did the truck feel? Do you think you had anything for those ID racing boys up front?
Yeah, well, in the first race during the night, I felt like I had quite a bit of speed, and I was pretty pleased with it. Going into the second race, I struggled a little bit early. I had some pace, and as the run went on, it just seemed to slowly, gradually, I would just start to lose it, and I couldn't be as aggressive. I guess I was wearing the right front a little bit too much. But towards the end, with all the chaos and stuff, I had the truck felt great. I felt like if I had a few more laps, I would have been able to compete a little bit more for the lead. But it was just great to be in that position. The way everything went on in those last couple green flag laps, I was just lucky to be in the right position at the right time.
Yeah, and that's all you have to do at the end of the day. Again, 2 solid top 10 runs. Could you maybe even tell us a little bit of the difference of how the truck handled between stage number 1 being at night and stage number 2 being during the day?
Well, at night it was pretty well planted. It gave you didn't have much of an option. You had to be as aggressive as you possibly could, and if you saw an opportunity to get your nose underneath someone and for the spotter to call to both of you that you were there, you had to take you had to take it. In the second race, it felt like the first couple laps were it was the same story, but as the run went on, you built heat. You could kind of feel it. You could feel the heat in the track. Given it was like a 20-degree swing, maybe even more between the races, you could feel just how wearing one tire over another was starting to become worse and worse, and you started to see there were a couple trucks that would get loose on entry and they would just start to slide up in front of you, and you didn't want to be that person, because it's so hard to be out of the way. It's so hard to be in that position when you have everybody so close under a blanket. So and I mean, I saw it firsthand. I had one incident in the middle of the race too. I pushed up a little bit behind someone, and I lifted just a little bit to try to not spin them, and I got tagged in the rear, and the two of us went spinning. So thankful to recover from that. Unfortunate for Robert that he got caught up in that, but with the temperature in the second race, it made it a different beast.
Yeah, it was definitely a different beast indeed, as a lot more wild rides, and you were able to recover from earlier incident. Kenneth, you got anything for Johnny?
Well, certainly you talked about the difference there in terms of how the truck handled from the day to the night, but it seems as though over the daytime conditions, everybody was a lot more aggressive. It seemed as though it swung completely in a different direction. And for you, it was a different change of pace because you were up front, running in a pack that would accordion just a little bit, would separate mostly, and would not necessarily be in a large pack. But here in this race, it seemed as though wherever you were in the top 5 to 7, you were in the midst of the Hornets' nest. How was that to handle, and how much stress was that on you to try and keep yourself in position while also making sure you're not making any contact with the drivers around you?
Yeah, that was the big thing. You could give a shot down the straightaway, mainly the backstretch. If you had any input in the wheel and you gave someone a shot, they were going to start to lose control. So it was really, really hard to give anybody any sort of help down the front stretch. That said, as you mentioned, you need to lay off of other people, off the other trucks, but it's important to get that run coming off the corner. So I was trying different things just to get some sort of run on the truck in front of me. I was, starting going in high, going in low, lifting early, lifting late, lifting a little bit later, just driving it in a little bit harder, and just to try to make something happen. And like you said with the Hornets Nest, there was a certain group that it's just like, if you were around them, you knew that there was something was possible at any moment. It's just because it was so hard, especially if you're on the outside, that you couldn't do anything. So finding a gap on the bottom was going to be your best bet. And if you couldn't find that gap because it was going to turn into, like a train on the bottom, you had to really be aggressive and pinch. But with the temperature being so much higher, it got looser, and some people got got a little bit more tighter. So it made it a whole different beast. But just trying to keep the nose on it was my goal. I tagged the wall once. I had found a little bit of speed on the high side after one of the restarts. I was making something happen up there, and then I tagged the wall and it threw it all away. So thankfully I didn't get any significant nose damage from that, because that totally throws everything off. And another thing with the damage on some of the other trucks, you can't, like I said, you can give a little bit of a bump, but if you did give someone who had a little bit of damage a bump in the wrong way, it made that loose condition down the straightaways even worse. So yeah, it was just trying to stay out of trouble, try to hold your line, hold the bottom, and protect it as much as you possibly could, because once you lost it, it was going to be so hard to get it back.
Yeah, but you were able to come back up and finish third. Before we send you off here, Johnny, do you have any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, I want to thank my old crew chief, Tucker Knaus. He was there in the box for the first race and really helped keep me calm through some of the tense moments in the first race. And I just want to apologize to Robert Hill again, Robert Hill Jr., for the contact in this race. I knew it ended his day, but I really want to thank him too, because he stuck around and helped guide me towards the end of the race, and avoiding the wrecks and keeping me informed with things that were going on in front and behind. So without him, I wouldn't have been able to even finish up there. So I appreciate him, and thanks to Vic for putting on this show. I really enjoy this series. It's a lot of fun, and thank you to you guys for putting on awesome broadcasts every week.
Yeah, you're welcome there. Again, congratulations on that third place run, sixth place run in stage number 1.
Thanks.
And go get them next week at Gateway.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And that was Johnny Eckert. That was our third place finisher here tonight. As we'll now bring in our second place finisher, Shane DiMantova. And we'll bring him up here into the booth. And Shane, awesome to see again a 1-2 finish for ID Racing. Maybe it wasn't the best night overall, as you had a little bit of rough luck in stage number 1 early on, but you're able to rebound and get that second place finish. How did you feel the car or the truck handled here tonight?
Obviously, like you said, the first set of runs, or the first half of the race, was very rough. Got caught up in a wreck on lap 1, so that was really unfortunate. But got everything together and got ready to go for the second stage, or a half, or whatever you like to call it. But yeah, I mean, we were really quick and sliced our way through the field after starting to the back, and found ourselves in the second position right behind our teammate.
Yeah, again, yeah, it had to be pretty good to see. Kind of even almost came a little out of nowhere, even towards the end of stage number 2. But you showed that you had speed all night long. And was there a little like how the trucks kind of drafted here tonight? You know, for a while there, you had 3 ID Racing trucks or 3 Toyotas at least. I believe it might have been 3 ID Racing trucks, Toyotas lined up behind Gerald Campbell. Was there any like team drafting going on, or was it kind of every man for himself?
I mean, it was really fun overall. Like I said in the Discord here, it was honestly just a fun set and fun conditions. Like this is, I couldn't ask for anything more. Like it was basically full throttle, which I mean, some would argue which isn't fun, but the package itself and the racing altogether from everybody, it was definitely entertaining for sure as a driver, and hopefully you guys up here in the broadcast booth. But yeah, I mean, obviously guys were making a lot of risky moves, but like for the most part, it was working and sticking, and it was just fun because like you could just send your truck into the corner, and I mean, guys were sliding around all night long and saving their trucks. It was just no complaints whatsoever here as a driver.
Yeah, it sure did look like a lot of fun. Kenneth, you got anything for Shane?
Well, Shane, I mean, this is not only a good finish for you, but also a fantastic finish for you in ID Racing. And not to mention, another ID Racing driver in Blake Barney also picked up a win last week at Martinsville, and coming with 2 wins in a row, coming in these 2 different weeks where you guys have at least taken 1 checkered flag within either of the heats. What can this say about your team as a whole and the momentum you guys are starting to build up, and possibly a chance for you to jump into victory lane yourself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we started that off at Daytona on the right foot. In the second half, they were getting the win. But yeah, I mean, ID Racing is just one of the best, if the best in the series whatsoever. Like, I won first race, and then Vince comes out the next week at Homestead and wins. I know that Blake won at Dover. I think that was a week or 2 weeks after Vince won. And then, like you said, Blake winning last week at Martinsville and Vince winning this week here at Kansas. I mean, fun group of guys, love them all, and get it done on the racetrack. Obviously, it seems like as a trend is one of us ends up in victory lane, and a lot of us who are strong contenders up in the ID Racing team kind of just get caught up in a late race caution or wreck and fall black, and that was obviously what happened with Blake tonight, as he was running like third when that caution came out, and he just got caught up in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. That ID Racing is making a statement, especially here in the OSCA Truck Series. I guess any shout-outs you want to give out here tonight, and maybe after that, let us know what your thoughts heading into Gateway are.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Obviously, I'd like to thank you guys, Kenneth and Goody, sending out there tonight, having a good time.
Oh yeah.
But I always am. But yeah, definitely for sure, everybody over ID Racing. Congrats, like I said, to my teammate and co-owner Vincent on the win. As like I've been mentioning, just good group of guys, and we're gonna get faster out there on the racetrack. And special thanks to my sponsors, Days Gone By Ventures Apparel, Eel Media Racing. So, or not Eel Media Racing, but Eel Media itself. But yeah, just love everybody in this community, and lots of fun here tonight.
Again, congratulations on that second place finish in stage number 2, and go get them next week.
Yep, thank you. Good to see you out on the racetrack.
You bet. Sounds good. Shane D. Mantova, second place finisher. And next we'll bring in our race winner, Vincent Isabella, into the booth. And once again, he's done it for the second time this season. Vincent Isabella went to victory lane. You put on quite a show here in stage number 2. It looked like you had to make some wild, aggressive moves to overtake to get in that lead spot.
Yeah, I was just thankful that when we took 4 tires there that we didn't die in that crash. I mean, just people driving over their heads.
Yeah, it looked like I didn't know if it was more of just how skilled you were to get through that wreck, or maybe lucky, maybe a little bit of both. Looked like the seas parted just enough for you to squeak through that wreck and able to get ID Racing that 1-2 finish.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Adam doesn't lose it there, we're sitting in third, 1, 2, 3 with ID trucks. So Shane was probably going to be fourth there, but we were strong. I'm excited. Another win under the belt.
You know, Shane was just talking about the success so far here in the OSCA Truck Series for ID Racing, and almost could have maybe had that 1-2-3 finish. Is that kind of a goal for you guys to try to do at least one time here before, as we kind of approaching midway through the season?
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if we could do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, something like that. That's our first 1, 2 there. So that's awesome. I'm proud of Shane for hanging in there after that restart. Tried to work together, and I completely blew it on him. But
yeah, still able to get that 1-2 finish, able to get it done. Impressive win. Kenneth, you got anything for Vincent?
Well, certainly the aggressive level was turned up to 11. I think on all fronts, including where you were battling for the race lead. The swerves were present. The blocks were there. But the biggest question is, how key was the positioning of your race truck here? Because the outside didn't seem to really kick in as probably what I think a lot of us thought it would. But it seemed as though if you were going to make a pass, it was going to be down the front straightaway, and it had to be with a forceful move in the final laps. How was that for you, at least, as a risk and a reward sort of ratio, knowing that you kind of had to force your way through, but you had to make it stick?
yeah, you didn't want to really drive it too hard because you burn the right front off real quick. That happened in the first race, and then I sped and still ended up with fourth. But no, I completely blew qualifying, and it was definitely fun with the blocking and stuff. There was Gerald and I were awesome up front there. We were giving each other the bumper without wrecking each other, and then it's a shame netcode ended that fun, but
Yeah, it's kind of the way that cookie crumbles sometimes. But again, overall, actually, with that misfortune for Gerald, and finishing, I believe, fourth in the first stage and first in the second, looks like you might be able to gain some ground on Gerald in the points. Is that kind of concern, or like a goal for you to try to lead the points, or are you just going out there and trying to get wins and put on a good show like you did?
Oh
in
no,
stage two?
we're here to win the championship. It's simple as that. I definitely gained a few points tonight, especially with winning and leading a bunch of laps, but it's gonna come down to the last race, definitely.
Yeah, that is for sure, and hopefully you're going to be right there, up there in the mix. Before we send you off here, Vincent, to let you go celebrate, any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, just the whole team, and obviously Gerald. It was fun racing with him. We had a really good battle for both races, so
Yeah.
all of ID Racing, you guys for putting on the show here, and obviously OSCA. We're having some fun in this league.
Yeah, fun it is, and it's fun to watch you guys battle week in, week out, and it's awesome to see ID Racing, newly formed team, able to show its dominance so far here in the OSCA Truck Series. I guess one more question for you too. What do you think? What do you think your chances are next week going into Gateway?
Gateway's typically a good track for me. I've run well in other leagues there. We'll see. Get the practice in this week for it, and hopefully talk to you guys again next week.
Sounds good. We'll be looking forward to it. Again, congratulations, Vincent, and go give them hell next week.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Yep. That was Vincent Isabella. Again, getting the win in stage number 2 of Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park, 1:30 here at Kansas Speedway. And Kenneth, the points implications. We kind of talked to Campbell before when he won. He's more worried about just going out there having fun and just trying to pick up wins, doing the best he can week in, week out. And you kind of heard a different mindset there for Vincent Isabella. He's looking at the big picture, going for these, going more for racing for points, going out for that championship, and along the way, he's picking up that win here. So Isabella, he's 35 points back going into the race here tonight. Looks like he's going to gain a little bit of ground. He's got that one goal in mind. This points championship could get very interesting.
Yeah, but even with the different perspectives here, Mike, about those two drivers, it is still a big theme that you have to watch out for ID Racing. They are performing consistently on a basis that is unlike any other team we've seen so far in this series. They've already picked up countless amount of checkered flags in this season, and that's only showing that they're starting to get better. They're starting to position themselves in the right way near the end of these races, and if they're able to capture at least one win in any segment, in any of the races, even if it's just one and not sweeping both, that still means dividends for their team, because that means that more of their drivers are stepping into playoff contention, and that means they have a higher percentage shot in order to even gain the championship with whoever driver it is, whether it be Isabella, D. Mantova, whether it be Blake Barney, the 3 of Austin Beers, whoever it may be. It is shown tonight, and I think over the course of the season, the past couple races, that IG Racing is a team to watch for, and they are hot on their heels right now coming out of Kansas.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a swagger now for that ID Racing crew. You know, we've seen that speed, but right now, as far as points-wise, being led, you know, for the ID Racing crew, led by Vincent Isabella and Shane D. Mantova, and of course Blake Barney. You know, maybe having some bad luck, but showing speed week in, week out. And, you know, getting a couple other wins, too, from a couple other guys like Austin Beers winning that stage at Dover. So it'll be interesting to see how that team will focus and come back next week at Gateway. And, you know, again, different style track next week. And again, here you look at the schedule as, you know, totally different track, almost kind of like a hybrid of a short track on one end and maybe more of like a New Hampshire in turns 3 and 4. It's going to be interesting, and we might see again maybe some different guys, maybe even a guy like Ryan Lutz, who had some bad tough luck here tonight. He might be a guy to watch out for next week as well.
Yeah, Gateway is going to be a different challenge. Again, stepping into sort of a short track, and Gateway is way different from what we've seen so far. I think it's more comparative to maybe New Hampshire, considering that there's very low banking and some of the tight corners are sort of the same, but at Gateway you have 2 different sets of corners. 1 and 2 is very tight, a little more banking to help, and then 3 and 4 is a lot more faster, but there is less banking to help you. So it is a different challenge, and I'm curious to see how the setups will work for the trucks and how they will react, the drivers themselves. And I'll probably keep my eye on how many drivers use that practice and qualifying to their advantage in order to separate themselves between either of the heats in order to step in front of the field. But Gateway, gonna be a very big moment. And remember, we're only closing in the final 3 races until we get to the playoffs. Michigan, Bristol, Las Vegas, and that's enough time to get you up, set the rest of the grid to run for a title when we start the race at Phoenix at race 11.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting at the different styles of tracks that we have going on here. You know, we got a 1.5 mile in Vegas, a short track at Bristol, you know, more of that short track-esque in Gateway and Michigan, the big 2 mile racetrack coming up here to round out the regular season. And again, you can check out Gateway right back here at 8:50 p.m. right here on KBRN. And again, a wild ride here tonight. Seen a lot of 3 wide action, a lot of crazy bumping and banging, blocking. It was an awesome race to see, and I don't expect anything different next week. And again, thank you for tuning in for the Save the Sullivans at Buffalo Naval Park 130 here at Kansas Motor Speedway. For Kenneth Bueno, I'm Mike Goodman. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Have a good one.